Welcome to Whole Grains, Whole Nutrition, a nutrition education online class provided by Hardin County WIC. This class was originally developed by the University of Texas at Austin and Texas WIC staff and was approved by the Texas WIC State Office. It was adapted for use by Hardin County WIC as an online education class. Before we begin, let's test your knowledge. True or false? Refined grains are a healthy food option. What are grains? Are they the flowering portion of the plant, the seeds of a plant, or the stems of a plant? And the last question, which is an example of whole grain bread? Is it stone ground bread, cracked wheat bread, whole wheat bread, or multi-grain bread? Today we will talk about the difference between whole grains and refined grains, why whole grains are so important for our health, and what we can do to add whole grains to our diet. First off, what are grains anyway? Simply put, grains are the seeds of plants. And the most common grains are wheat, rice, oats, corn, and barley. And those common grains are transformed into grain products such as bread, pasta, oatmeal, cereal, and tortillas. What is the difference between whole and refined grains? As you can see here in this image, we have on the left a picture of a whole grain. And the outer portion of the grain is the bran layer, and it's a fiber-filled layer, and it contains B vitamins and minerals. And down here on the left, we see the germ, and this is the nutrient-packed core, and it contains B vitamins, vitamin E, phytochemicals, and healthy fats. And this large white portion is the endosperm, and it's the starchy carbohydrate layer, and it does provide some proteins and vitamins. If we look here on the right, we have a refined grain, and it consists of only the endosperm, that starchy carbohydrate middle layer. And did you know that when the bran and germ are removed, it also removes 78% of the fiber, 25% of the protein, and at least 17 nutrients are lost. So that bran outer layer and that germ core are very important to the nutrition of the whole grain. Next, we'll talk about why whole grains are so important. Here we have another picture of a whole grain. And remember that bran, that outer layer, contains the fiber and the B vitamins. And the germ contains the B vitamins, vitamin E, and healthy fats. And it also contains protein. So fiber helps lower the risk of heart disease. It also lowers the risk of type 2 diabetes. It's important for gut health, and it lowers the risk of colon cancer. And it even helps promote weight loss. And those B vitamins that are in the bran and the germ help the body to use the fuel that we get from food. The vitamin E that's in the germ is an antioxidant, and that helps to prevent or delay cell damage. And those healthy fats in the germ, they help lower cholesterol, reduce inflammation in the body, and promote normal brain and nervous system function. And the protein that is found in whole grains serves multiple purposes in the body. For instance, protein is important for structural components such as muscles, bones, teeth, cartilages, and even blood vessels. Proteins also help transport fats, vitamins, and minerals. And proteins are even helpful in regulating fluids, and they help with our electrolyte balance. And those are just a few things that proteins do. But overall, with the fiber, the B vitamins, vitamin E, healthy fats, and proteins, all those work together to make whole grains a healthy food choice. Here are a few examples of whole grains. We have whole wheat flour, whole wheat tortillas, whole wheat pasta, whole wheat crackers, brown rice, oatmeal, popcorn, and corn tortillas. Now let's talk about refined grains. Remember earlier we learned that refined grains consist of only that starchy middle layer called the endosperm. And refined grains provide calories but not much nutrition. Remember when the bran and the germ are removed, it removes the fiber, a lot of the protein, and many of the nutrients. So we're left with just empty calories. And when we eat refined grains, they're digested quickly, so we get a burst of energy and then we feel really tired. And we're also hungry again after a short amount of time. So it's a vicious cycle. We eat white breads or white rice or cookies, donuts, things like that. They digest quickly. We get a burst of energy. We're tired and hungry again, and we eat again. So it's a cycle, and it leads to weight gain. And refined grains can also increase the risk of type 2 diabetes, heart disease, and fatty liver. And here are some examples of refined grains. We have white flour, white rice, regular crackers, regular pasta, and flour tortillas. Let's look at some ways to add whole grains into our diet. One way that we can get more whole grains into our diet is to look for the word whole in the ingredient list. Words like whole wheat flour, whole grain wheat, or whole grain corn are good options. And we want those ingredients to be at least the first or the second in the list. Another way is to look for the Whole Grains Council stamp. As you see here on the left, a good source of whole grains is those that contain at least 8 grams of whole grains per serving. Here in the middle, an excellent source of whole grains are products that contain at least 16 grams of whole grain per serving. And here on the right, 100% excellent source of whole grains would be those that contain at least 16 grams of whole grains per serving and no refined grains. When choosing whole grains, there are a few things that we want to be aware of. We want to watch out for words that can make us think a product is whole grain, but in reality it's mostly refined. So if we look on that ingredient list and we see multigrain, 7-grain, stone ground, cracked wheat, enriched flour, honey wheat, or made with whole grain, we know that that product is mostly refined grains. And so we'll want to choose a better option. Remember, look for the words whole grain in the ingredients list. So summing things up, there are a few things that we want to remember. We want to remember that whole grains are a healthier food option than those refined grains. We want to look for the words whole grain on the ingredients list. And we also want to be aware of wording such as stone ground, multigrain, and cracked wheat. So let's test our knowledge again. True or false? Refined grains are a healthy food option. And that's false. We know that whole grains are the healthier food option. The next question, what are grains? Are grains the flowering portion of the plant? the seeds of a plant or the stems of a plant? Right, we learned that grains are the seeds of a plant. And our last question, which is an example of whole grain bread? Is it stone ground bread, cracked wheat bread, whole wheat bread, or multigrain bread? Right, whole wheat bread, because we learned that the stone ground, cracked wheat, and multigrains all make us think that the bread is whole grain when it really is mostly refined grains. This concludes our presentation. To receive your nutrition education credit, click on the link in the description below. Thank you and have a great day.